Hi everyone, I'm Ebony and welcome to my channel. So today's a Flosstube Extra about my preferred stitching methods, a few of the tools that I use, and hopefully it might give some of you some ideas on what you can do or things you like or don't like. So the first thing that we all need to stitch are needles. So I use a mixture between the Piecemakers Tapestry needles in size 28. I use these for my full coverage. I also use Bohin's 28, but I don't have the case for those. These are Pat Carson's size 26, but these are no longer made, so these are my last four, and I use these for higher counts or like larger stitches. And then I have these two snag nabbits. These are the Clover brand and they come in a 2-pack. One is smaller and one is larger. So it's just basically to fix any dodgy stitches or any loose threads that are coming through to the front. You just pop it through the hole and pull it through. And this rough side here pulls any loose threads towards the back. So I use the bigger one for bigger stitches, smaller one for smaller stitches and full coverage. They're handy to have. I try to stitch so I don't need them, but sometimes you just see like a loose thread and they're handy to have on hand. So they're the needles I like to use. I also use beeswax. This is a bit of a controversial subject. If you look in any of the groups, there will be people telling you don't use it or they use it. I particularly use it for every bit of thread that I put in my needle. It helps with breakage, it helps with tangling, knotting. Yeah, I really like it. So when you get it, it looks like this. Well, the one I have looks like this. This is from Rosefield Studio on Etsy. So yeah, it looks like that. But once you run your thread through it, it looks like that. After a bit, I've had this for a few months now. So yeah, it looks disgusting. But it works and it keeps my threads from knotting up or breaking. So that is another thing. I find it makes my stitches look a lot neater and a lot more uniform. So I always use that. Another thing I use are these magnetic cable ties. These are off Amazon. The brand is Smart and Cool. And these are really strong. I'm pulling them now. I can't get them open. There. Some you get are not that strong, but these are very strong and do the job nicely. So I'll put these around my Q-snap to hold any extra fabric. As we know, I stitch larger projects, full coverage, and there is usually a lot of excess fabric and it needs to be tamed. So I use these and I will show them on a couple of my projects today. So them are a must. I always have plenty of these on hand. Then to organise my threads per project, I use these. These are thread organisers off Amazon. They're cheap. I think they're about £5 for a pack of 10. And each card holds 20. And they're just a thin plastic. So I'll show you one that is got kitted up. So these are the threads for my Magic Roses Heaven and Earth designs that I will show when I show you my lap stand. And there's 5 cards. And yeah, they can look a bit messy, but they don't tangle. Even they look tangled, but they do not tangle. And I can just have these in my little box next to my sofa. They don't take up much room, and that is a project fully kitted on there. Well, I have the extra skeins in the project bag with the project, but on hand I have these in a box, ready to go, all numbered. So I have them for all of my larger projects and some smaller ones that use about 20 colours. I will use these. So there's that. So now on to frames. Typically I will use Q-snaps, 11 by 11 most of the time, and 8 by 8 rarely. I find the best tension. I find they fit in my stands perfectly. I like the size. You get a good area to work on without having to move it too much. So yeah, most of the time it will be a Q-snap. So another frame I've been using have been the Nerge hoops. I bought these as a set from Hobby Jobby. 4 come in a set, one's with a project. So this is size 1, size 3 and size 4. Size 2 is the one that fits in there. I will say the smaller ones hold the best tension, but for the size of projects I use, I'm very rarely going to use something that small. However, this is the largest one, and I have managed to get pretty okay tension. Not as tight as I'd like. There is still some give in it, but it will do. I'll still use it. And this all needs tying back with the cable ties to get it out of my way. So yes, recently I have been using these, and they're a lot more lightweight than a Q-snap. They're easier to hold, but since I work in a stand anyway, it doesn't really matter for me. I also wanted to talk a bit about what method of stitching I use. So most of the time I will use cross country or the typewriter method. So this is a project where I'm doing cross country, so I'm not paying attention to any kind of page breaks or anything like that. I'm just kind of stitching wherever. I do try and fill in as I go along, so I try not to leave any ninja stitches anywhere that I'm not actively working on. So I try to fill in and then move on to the next section. Whereas with something like this, let's open it up. I have started using block stitching in diagonals. So basically it just means that you're working in 10 by 10 blocks on the diagonal. So let me try and zoom you in. So as you can see here, this is the edge of a 10 by 10 block. Once that's done, I will start working on the next one. Once that's done, I'll start working on the next one. Then when I finish the diagonal, I come back, do that block, diagonal, do that block, and work my way down. And it does leave a lot of part threads if you do that. However, with something like this where I'm struggling to keep track of where I am or where the stitches go, it is a lifesaver. I did start off stitching this way. I don't really like it. I find it parking takes a lot longer, and also you can get grid lines where your blocks end. So I use it if necessary, but not always. Like I said, my preferred method is cross country or the typewriter method. And if you're curious about the typewriter method, Stitching Mummy has a video explaining it. She coined the term, and I am not going to butcher trying to describe it, but it's pretty simple. So I will link her channel below. Now the last thing before I show you my lap stand is that I stitch two-handed. So I usually have my left hand underneath the project and my right hand on the top. So on the top I'm guiding my needle through, catching it and pulling it back. So it's the poke and stab method using two hands. I find it the quickest. I know a lot of people struggle to do it, but yes, I love it, and I don't really like stitching any other way. So I am going to leave it here, and you should be seeing a video now showing you my lap stand that I use. So this is the Kay's Creation lap stand that I was telling you about. I use this every day. I just have it on my lap on the sofa. It's light, it's easy to turn my work. This is my preferred method. So it has these knobs up the side. This knob controls how high or low this bit is. This knob controls how close to you or far away from you your work is. And then this knob, if you turn it, it allows you to get to the back of your work. And these two knobs control how tight your clamp is. So I can use this for my Q-snap or my Nerge. This is what I'm working on at the minute. I like to start my threads with a single strand loop start. And if you've not heard of that or don't know how to do that, if you search it on YouTube, there's plenty of videos that show you how to do it. And I end my threads by running them under stitches at the back. I find it quicker just to flip it over, do that, than it is to do a pin stitch or any other methods. So there's that. I do use my Lowry floor stand for my chatelaine, but at the end of the day, I do like to put my stitching away. So the Lowry, it's, you know, it stays out. So I only use that occasionally, whereas this, I just pop it on the side of my sofa and you can't see it. So yes, that's the end of today's Flosstube Extra. So I hope it answered a few questions, and if you have any more, just let me know in the comments below. Until next time, bye.